Welcome to the It's All Good show. This is the Thanksgiving edition. I am Dr. Dream, and I am very excited today to have this guest on the show. Fred Burks is a gentleman that I interviewed back in June of 2013. So I've been impressed with Fred for a good long while. And he, in recent, I'd say in the last few years, I was just telling him that he's one of the people that shows up on my feed quite a bit. And in the last few years, I've been really touched by his heart. And it has definitely brought me more into his heart space. And so I'm thrilled to have him on the show today for our Thanksgiving edition. Hi, Fred. How are you?
Hey, Dr. Dream, it's great to be here and greetings to all of our listeners.
Before we get started, I'd like to just give you the opportunity to kind of give us a rundown of who is Fred Burks and what got you to where you are today.
Cool. Well, boy, where to start? I guess I was born with an inquisitive mind. My father was a minister, and I questioned, he actually encouraged us to question things, and I questioned everything, including him and religion. And I guess I got onto a solid spiritual path when I was 19, and I got really clear that I just want to live in service to all of us. And all of us includes me. I don't want to be sacrificing myself because by taking care of myself, I can better serve others. And I really have opened up to spiritual guidance my entire life, and it has led me in completely unexpected places. I never thought of living overseas. And then when I was in college, I ended up hearing about this program in a very magical way and ended up living in Indonesia for a year, a country that I didn't even know was a country. I thought it was some islands in the Pacific. And then I ended up going living in China for a couple of years, came back and became a language interpreter at the State Department. Um, and interesting thing is, I realized I was really good right away. I was really good at languages, and if I tried, I could work up, and get to a high level. Like, no, it's not worth it. I'd rather focus on my spiritual pursuits. But God or the divine or all that is had different plans, and without even trying, I got moved up and eventually became the top interpreter in the Indonesian language, and ended up interpreting for Bill Clinton, Al Gore, George Bush Jr., lots of people. So got to see some fascinating things, and I was a debunker of major conspiracy theories because my father was a conspiracy theorist, and I kind of rebelled against him. But then through Dr. Greer's video, many people know about it in 2001, the Disclosure Project, I got totally woken up to this, like, oh my God, there's all this stuff going on. And so, and that was actually after a prayer when I got to a place where I said, okay, show me whatever I'm not seeing. It was really a deep kind of heartfelt prayer that opened that space. And once I saw that, it's like I was just blown away because I'd never seen anything like that. And once I found out about Greer stuff, it's like, okay, what's really going on in the world if this is happening? And so I really opened to guidance and ended up starting to get all this information, put it up on the internet. And the internet website became fairly popular. At one point, we were getting 10,000 visits every day, all about helping people to learn about the shadow aspect of existence, but not just the shadows out there, because there certainly is that, but also shadows inside of ourselves. And sometimes I call myself a shadow dancer because I've learned that by dancing with my shadows, then everything becomes much more fascinating and interesting, and no longer placing myself as a victim, but as a powerful creator in the world. So basically, I've been open to spiritual guidance my whole life, and it has just created tremendous magic. Both ended up interpreting in the White House and doing this great work on the internet, creating these websites. So it's been a wonderful, fascinating journey.
I love it. I really do love it. I've spent some time recently going through what you created, peerservice.org, and the different websites associated there. And you've touched a lot of people, and you did it with a conscious focus on balance, not wanting to be too unsettling, and giving people an opportunity to stay in their hearts, or find themselves in their hearts. And I really appreciate that about what you've done.
Yeah, for me, it was absolutely key. I knew if I'm going to be putting out this dark shadow information, it has to be balanced out with the light side. In fact, right in the beginning, put a website out called the Web of Love, which opens people to the idea that we are all connected, everyone on this planet, through our hearts. And if you really just imagine that there's a beam of energy between my heart and your heart and the heart of every one of our listeners and the heart of everyone on the planet, there's this web of love around the planet. And also, I really focus a lot on near-death experiences where people, once they are declared clinically dead, they're able to see all sorts of things about their life, and you get this mega perspective of what's really happening in life. And everything looks different from that space. So then the shadows don't look so scary. And we can really learn to dance with them in a way that's really empowering, and we can have fun and enjoy helping this planet to transform with all the craziness going on here.
All the craziness, that's for sure. So tell us a little bit about what you're focused on these days. Where is your attention being drawn? We just came out of an election or selection cycle,
Yes.
and here we are, and there's all sorts of things happening on all the different stages. What's
Mhm.
drawing your attention?
Well, I have to give a little preface to that because I was very clear from the time I was young that I had a life mission, and when I actually found it through Greer's work that it was to put up these peers websites, and that really was my life's mission. And I feel I did a fabulous job. I mean, I hate to brag, but I know I've helped tens of thousands and maybe even more to really transform their lives through the internet work. But that mission is largely complete. I was really clear, like, wow, it's complete. And then we got this huge donation of almost $400,000 to our organization. So we hired this great woman named Amber Yang, who has taken over, and she mostly runs the Peers websites. And now I'm more focused. So that was global, and I'm coming more back to community and to individual connections for myself. So I'm involved in a couple different communities where it's all about how do we create more love and empowerment. And I also serve sacred medicines, which is a great way to help open your mind to looking at different things. And I do work on healing the sexual wound on the planet, which is, I feel, the deepest and most challenging wound. So I'm more focused on that these days than on the internet work.
Excellent. Talk to us a little bit about the sacred medicines.
Well, it's funny because when I was in the State Department, of course, I couldn't be doing any sacred medicines. But then I resigned in 2004 from the State Department, but then I was like, oh, I remember when I was young, I did about 10 times. I did some journeys with LSD mushrooms and things like that. I said, yeah, that was powerful stuff. Maybe I want to get back into that. So I put out a prayer, like, yeah, let's do this. And turns out two of my good friends had just never mentioned to me that there were shamans who served all kinds of medicines. And so I would go over their place once a month, and they served me different medicines. And it's just amazing. And it's not for everybody, particularly people who have addiction problems. I don't recommend, going into this field necessarily. But for people who are ready and who are clear on their spiritual path, the medicines can give these views from a different dimension. We think this dimension is all there is, but everybody's had some experiences where there's more than just this. But medicines are a relatively easy way of getting into that mega perspective. And actually, they have been my greatest teacher in this life. I do a journey about once a month on some kind of mind expanding substance and find it incredibly valuable.
I love that you're saying that. I have often said that my greatest teachers have been the plant medicines, and I was fortunate along the way to meet Jonathan Ott and Terrence McKenna and Christian Ratch, and some of the real leaders in plant medicine, ethnobotany, and research.
Hmm.
I joke, it's a little longer story, but I'll just allude to it here, that Terence McKenna thought I was a little bit out there
Oh, really?
and a little bit crazy, and I'll tell you that
That's
story
great.
another time. But
That's great.
I've said before, my claim to fame is that Terence McKenna thought I was crazy.
That's awesome.
Um, so it's a game changer in perspective. It's for me,
Yes.
it has assisted me. We're not doing like any we're not working with any of the plant teachers at the moment. But in the past, it has assisted me in establishing a deeper connection to being here and what
Yes.
it means to be here,
Yes.
because this reality in and of itself can be challenging.
Very challenging.
And so to have the undeniable um experiences outside of this, which are just as valid as this experience that we're
Right.
having, has made it really, just has highlighted, been highlights of my life. And so
Yeah.
I really like that. And
Well, I'll just mention that it's been fascinating for me because some people use drugs as an escape. And for me, it sounds like for you too, it has helped me to be more here and really want to be here because one of the messages that I get so clearly, it's about this moment right here, right now. And when I'm in this reality, I want to live here fully and enjoy this experience of being human. Yet you have to treat these medicines with the utmost respect. If people do it casually, you can end up having a really bad journey, you know. So it's I learned the hard way a long time ago when I one time didn't treat them with respect, and I got shown don't do that.
right.
So if you treat them with respect and honoring, and as teachers, I really do treat them as teachers, they can be just so potent in opening us up to the deeper levels of who we are and what this is that we're doing here.
And as you say, they're not for everybody, but I do like that they are gaining more acceptance
Yes.
than in the past, and mushrooms have made their way into more of the mainstream, so to speak, and everything along those lines.
Right.
So
Thank you, MAPS,
right, exactly,
organization that promotes all of this. Yeah.
exactly. And so I watched your video. You made a video recently regarding Soul Family.
Hmm.
It was short, it was less than 5 minutes.
Right.
It literally brought tears to my eyes.
Oh,
Now,
sweet.
I function from my emotional body before anything else, and
Nice.
that's just, yeah, it works for me.
Hmm.
But it was beautiful, and it was an opportunity for me to connect with you in a way. I just turned 60. And
Cool.
so, looking at my life and asking myself what's next, and I just did my 805th group energy experience since January of 2010.
Wow.
And looking at now, things are changing in the age of Aquarius, and all of this, and what the next iteration of the tour of love is, and purpose and mission here. And you were the part that brought the first tear to my eyes was your statement that you feel like you've accomplished your mission here. And so does that now open you up for allowing what the next part of that is? Or are you on easy street now?
You know, it's tempting, right, to do the easy street thing. Oh, I'm just going to kick back and read and connect with friends. But no, that's not who I am. I couldn't do that. I've
Right.
always known, I knew that once my mission is complete, I might be done and might leave. And I had two near fatal motorcycle accidents where obviously I had a chance to leave, and I guess I chose to stay. And I knew that if I stayed, I was going to do this work, just what I was talking about, sacred medicines and healing the sexual wound. And so I've known that for 15 years at least. Um, and so I'm here. That is my passion now. And I'm still supporting Amber a lot because she's doing great work with carrying forward the peers work and the shadow dancing. But I'm more focused on, as I said, the community and the individual work through these two methods.
So talk to us about the other side of what you're doing the with the sexual wounds. What's the focus? How is that play out? Give us an idea.
Well, here's a frame for that. If everyone in the world was having good sex and wonderful relationship, nobody would want to go to war. Nobody would want to be manipulating each other and doing all the crazy shit that the big corporations are doing. Big corporations would look very different. So if you really think about that, if everybody had good, healthy relationships and good sex, I really believe that. And you look at what sex has caused, the amount, it was normal 1,000 years ago, the conquering army got to rape all the women. That was just a normal part of war. It was part of the spoils of war. It's ugly. And you look, rape goes on to this day. There's people being raped this moment somewhere around the world. And so my work is to help people see that sex, first off, religion wants to tell us, don't look down there, right? Don't look at that stuff and don't talk about it. And Jesus said, better not to be married, blah, blah, blah. Sorry. Sex is beautiful. Sex is a beautiful gift that was given to us in these human bodies. And when we embrace it as a beautiful force of love and channel it towards love consciously and use it consciously, it is powerful. And so I'm sure people have heard of Tantra, and Tantra has a bad rap, but pure Tantra is about bringing sexual energy up through the heart and creating this beautiful heart love connection that includes amazing pleasure and the gift that we were given in these bodies. And so I've actually studied and even taught Tantra, sacred sexuality, and learning how to run what's called Kundalini energy. The Kundalini energy is the sacred sexual energy that resides in the base of our spines. And when you learn to channel that, you become more energy proficient. And again, everything looks different. You start seeing things in terms of energy, which changes your perspective on everything. You realize that it's just a play out there. All the politics, yes, it matters, but at the same time, we're all part of a grand cosmic play where the divine is exploring itself through us. And when you take that mega perspective, you don't let the politics of the world get you down. It's like, oh, okay, this is just here. We're riding these big waves. And if we learn to surf the waves, we can actually have fun with it.
So how does society get past what media, including the movies, religion, what everything has projected and overlaid on sex?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get past
It's
that?
not an easy thing, but the core, the best advice I can give everyone, I think, is to open up that you do have spiritual guidance. You've got an inner wisdom inside of yourself, and you've got higher guidance. You've got guides that I know are working with you, whether you believe it or not. And if you really invite those guides to work with you, say, hey, I want to get more comfortable with my sexuality. I want to learn how to be very conscious around that and ask for guidance. I can almost guarantee you it may not come right away, it may come in ways that you don't expect, but it will happen. That's how I've run my life since I was 19. I always go on spiritual guidance, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. So I invite everybody to really open up to guidance in conscious embracing of sexuality and using it for the greater good.
Fabulous. And I like what you're saying about asking for guidance, the ask and you shall receive, and then just to pay attention. It's rarely handed to us on a silver platter.
Yes.
But we have to just be present and watch what's showing up, that the signs and messages will be there for us and will guide us. Now, so
I was
go
just going to
ahead.
say, and there's a tendency, like I have a part of me that wants to be the savior, part of me with this life mission. Well, I'm here to save the planet, and I've really realized it's not about that. It's about each of us playing our part, and sometimes just by helping somebody cross the street, or even sometimes with the right person giving $1 to somebody who really needs it. or or paying it forward. Those are the little acts that make such a big difference. And when you hear people's near-death experience stories, they're often surprised that the thing that they did that made the most difference was just one little conversation with somebody that changed their lives and they didn't even realize it. So we can easily get caught up in the save the world complex, like I did, and it's not a bad thing, but I'm finding that every individual act we do every day and following our inner calling is what really brings the deepest satisfaction and helps us to align with that greater being that is exploring itself through us.
That's really awesome. And I talk about that a lot in the experiences that we facilitate is to you can change someone's life sometimes just by being present for them and looking
Yes,
them in the eye, and
yes,
that's all it takes. It's like it doesn't mean a dollar or a 20 or a 50 certainly can help, no strings attached to
right.
the right people, but just being present with people can create a ripple effect that we have no idea about. And it just people try it and it's like, wow, it feels good. I had someone call me after one of my experiences that I facilitated, and he said, I went to the UPS store and I tried it after I returned that Amazon package. I looked at the guy and I said, I just want to thank you and let you know how much I appreciate you. And he
Uh-huh.
said, I felt the expansion.
Yes, yes, yes. It could make all the difference. If not just making that guy's day, it could make his whole month. And some people who are feeling depressed or suicidal, it can change their whole orientation.
Right.
So thank you
Now,
for doing that, Dr. Dream. It's awesome. You're helping to create dreams for people.
it's a beautiful thing, it really is, because people look at some of us that are have bigger outreaches and maybe they're comparing themselves, and it's like,
Hmm.
no, we all have a role to play, and that role can be played in that interaction at the grocery store with the cashier. It's not
Yes.
about, oh, my podcast reaches this many, or I've done this, or I've done 800 events around the world. It's about just playing your role, not in relation to anyone else's. And
Right.
so it's I love sharing that message because we're all so powerful in our own ways.
Yes, yes. And one of the biggest challenges I think is most people have challenges with loving themselves.
Right.
And when you can really get to a place, like we've all done stuff that we regret, if you can forgive yourself for everything that you've done that you feel bad about, and really go in and love those parts of yourself that are still wounded, that allows you to then, with your own love of yourself, be a radiator of love. And as Dr. Dream was saying there, then just by being in the room, or sitting with someone and even just looking them in the eyes, because you've got that self-love and you radiate it, that's when it really touches them. If you go feeling like, oh, I'm really bad and I'm trying to make up for the bad that I've done, it's a whole different energy. So really invite people to, how much can you really forgive yourself for everything you've done, honor yourself for all the great things you've done, and then become a beacon of light in this world.
Let's just touch on that a little deeper for a moment, Fred. If someone comes to you and says, I know it's about unconditional love for self, but I'm really having a difficult time moving into it, and what practical advice would you give to that person? What would you say?
Yeah, so I have that happen to me sometimes. Sometimes not directly in words, but I can tell somebody is sitting in front of me because they needed this. And if it's going to be like I have like 10 or 15 minutes with them, I'll say, "Hey, can you sit with me for a minute?" And just I make that eye contact. And sometimes they won't even hold it, but they can feel I'm right there. And then I'll say, "Hey, can we just let's call in some energies here to support us. Let's call in your guidance and my guidance. And let's really ask them to help us open right now to whatever you need in this moment." So that creates a field and also tends to create trust in the other person, because it's not like I'm going to heal you. It's like we're co-creating something here. And once I've set that field, sort of an energetic space that supports us in this process, then I ask them to really feel and look at me. And because I know I've reached this place where I really love myself and I love everybody. And it's just an amazing thing when you can get to that place. And so when I then connect with them, and it's not even about what I say, it doesn't have to be eye gazing because some people get uncomfortable with that, but I'll touch them in some way, hold hands or something like that, and just let them know I'm fucking right here and I just want to be with you. And if they feel that, because that's what they didn't get from their parents, usually, right? Very
Right.
few of us really got time from our parents where they would sit down with us and just let us know how much they loved us. Or they did too much in some cases, and that can be a whole problem in itself. But yeah, so just having that presence, and the whole key, as I was just mentioning earlier, is first finding it in yourself. Really finding the places to forgive yourself for everything, and trust that this divine being wants us to experience all of this. Then you can be that beacon that will just sit with somebody. And if you set that sacred space, it really opens up possibilities and opens up trust in their soul to be in this space with you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, what else allows you? I mean, I started off this interview by saying, one of the things that ways you've touched me is by being so in your heart space. I mean, we live in a society that seems to want to divide us, seems to want to not bring out the best in us.
Yes.
What have you done to really break from that? Because I mean, you're surrounded by all of that the same as everyone else is, but you seem to have put the shields up or put the bubble around you. What is it?
Well, there's two things that really I think allowed me to step so fully into this, and one is I had something that very few people had, a pretty unconditionally loving mother. She let me know she loved me in really appropriate ways, and she's told me she saw my magnificence and really wanted me to step into that, whatever it was. And so having that, which most people don't have, and that makes it much harder, then I was able to do the shadow work much more deeply. Most people don't want to look into the deepest shadows, their own or out in the world. But also another kind of crazy piece is that in my late 30s, I trained to be a hypnotherapist. And through that whole process, I had a visceral memory of a past life back in the Inquisition, where quite literally I was the chief of a torture chamber. And it shook me to the core. I'm like, holy shit. Like, holy, oh my God, I can't believe. And it resonated and it rang true. And I know I've had a number of lifetimes where I'm paying back the balancing my karma, quite honestly. And I know part of the reason I have this mission and have helped so many people is because I harmed so many people in that past lifetime. But having that also gave me the ability to look into some of the deepest, darkest places and not be so disturbed, so that I can read about some of the horrific things that are going on to this day on our planet, and it doesn't throw me off or upset me like it would for most people. So I have a lot going for me personally, which is why I was got to play, you might say, a bigger role on this planet. Um, Not better than everybody else. It's like, so, but that's what I came into this lifetime knowing that I had big work to do, because I'm still balancing that karma. And I have the supportive mother who really gave me the solid foundation I needed to do this really dark work. So I know stuff that if I told you about it would just turn your stomach. But I know that I've also touched hundreds of people who are doing their best to turn it all around. And it's not my job to personally turn around, but through my work, particularly in mind control and how that's used in deep, very hidden places, and how that ties into some really dark groups. There are satanic groups on this planet, and shining light into those shadows is what's making a difference. So I know I'm talking about stuff that's a little bit disturbing here, but it's quite honestly, that was my life mission, was to help turn that whole thing around. And I'm one of many people who've been committed to this, and including you, Dr. Dream. And I know you're aware of a lot of this stuff, and that it's not for everybody to do that work, but I was called to do it, and you are. And there's a wonderful network of people on this planet that have created a whole new shift in the energy on this planet. And it's exciting. It's quite exciting to know that this net is growing, this web of love.
So someone listening right now who's just like maybe saying to themselves, maybe I've got some more shadow work, or maybe it's something I should look into more directly. How would you guide them without being right there with them or whatever? What initial first practical steps would you give to someone who says, I want to be able to do
Right.
that because I know the next expansion is waiting for me?
Right. Well, the biggest thing I mentioned earlier is first just opening up and asking for help with this.
Right.
Really say, and realizing it's bigger than I can handle personally. Give me the support that I need to start looking at the shadows, both internal and external. As far as practical things, my life mission, the culmination of my life mission was to create a free online course called the Transformation Course. And so if you go to the website transformationteam.net, it's a free online course. The whole course actually, it's 21 lessons and it takes about 2 hours a lesson. So it takes time, but it's free. And there's some support there too. There's a support portal that you can go to when you're going through it. And I call it a dance of shadow and light because every other lesson is filled with amazing, inspiring things happening on this planet. You learn about movements you learn about near death experiences and all sorts of great stuff. But the in between lessons then go into the shadow, both the personal and the collective shadow. You learn to identify your own core issues. What's the core challenge in your life? And then how do you transform that? And then you learn about some of the crazy stuff going out in the world and what we can do about that. So this transformation course can be a wonderful tool. I can tell you people who've gone through it have, there's a page that you can read the appreciations. People tell how it's completely changed their lives going through this course. So that's one resource. And open up to guidance. And there's other things too out there. And you will find them if you really sincerely want this and ask for guidance. I have no doubt you will find it.
I think it's excellent that you give that away for free. I give a lot away, and I still have people saying, well, if you're not having people pay for it, they're not vested in it. And I
It's
just think
true. There's truth to that.
I think there's a
And
little
my
bit of
thing is,
truth, but I think it's also an old story.
yes, yeah,
And I'm not sure. I think if everyone just gave what they had to give without asking for something in return,
right.
the world would be a great place. It seems like everyone's got their hand out for
Yes.
whatever they can ask for whatever they're giving. And
Mhm.
so I'm inspired that your course is not based on that.
Yeah, and I know that it probably would have gotten a wider reach if we did the whole marketing thing that you're supposed to do, this whole marketing thing out there. But I just decided, no, I want to totally live the new paradigm. And the new paradigm, everybody gives freely of their heart. And so even though, we've had a couple thousand people that have completed the course, it could be a lot more, but even those people that have been transformed, and quite honestly, I'll bet those are some of the people that I tortured in that past lifetime, that this is how it
There you
works.
go. Wow.
The right people came through and I was, without even having to talk to them, I'm not involved with that course. Though I was I was the main creator of it. So yeah, there's a whole bigger game here going on than most of us will ever know. And it's one of those things, if you read the near death material, you see like, oh my God, it's so much bigger than any of us can imagine.
Now, it just brings up something. One of the things for me, in my experience is I have lots of information. I've read a lot about near-death experience. The psychedelic experiences have given me great insight, but I don't feel that I integrate death very well
Mm.
when it's close to me.
Yeah, sure.
Parents, I had a brother pass away at 39
Mhm.
years old in the last few years. Um, Take us into that a little bit. I know your parents passed around the same time and that it was a challenging time, but how was it for you and how do you integrate death? I mean, one last piece of this is when I watched your Soul Family video and you talked about how you thought maybe you would have died by now, having achieved, what you came here to achieve, your mission and everything. You seem very balanced with death in general.
Right. Well, part of it is I've been fascinated with near-death experiences. That's what opened me up when I was 19. So I had a big spiritual transformation when I was 19. I was agnostic for that. I didn't know if God really existed. And it was Raymond Moody's very first book, Life After Life, that came out in 1975, and I read it in 1976 when I was 19. that's what opened me up. And it's like, wow. And if you really read the near-death literature, it just inspires you, and you realize, death is just a portal to something amazing. And so I had that. I've also, the first time I lost a good friend, I was 18. And then when I was 19, I lost another very close friend. So death has kind of followed me through my life. I've had good friends die almost every year, sometimes one time, 4 times in one year. So I've gotten very comfortable with death. And yet at the same time, I want to say grieving is beautiful. That of course, when, I lost my best buddy about 10 years ago, was swept away by a wave in Hawaii. It was my best buddy. And to feel that grief and let the waves of grief flow through and say, yeah, I wish he was still here, right? My parents were 90. They were really ready to go. So my parents' transition was relatively easy as far as death goes. It was challenging because my dad had dementia, and that has all of its own challenges. But both of them lived great lives. They died in their early 90s. They were both ready to go, and I was ready for them to go, quite honestly. So, yes, there was tears and there was sadness, but there was also relief. And some people feel guilty because they feel this relief. But if you really just embrace, like, no, of course. And now, if you know where they're going, once they've died, they go through a whole life review and everything. Yeah, I was so happy because my mom was afraid of death. And luckily, when she could still listen to audiobooks, I gave her some near-death stories, real stories of people. And she said, is this real, Fred? Is this real? I said, Mom, I totally believe this is real. And I think it really helped her to face her transition because she was very afraid of death. So if you have a fear of death, I really encourage you to there's dozens and dozens of excellent books. Um, um, Saved by the Light, Daniel Brinkley, awesome book. This very inspiring about this stuff. Anita Moorjani, spelled Moorjani, Saved by the, no, hers is Dying, Dying to Live or something. I might have that wrong, but she wrote an autobiography that's just fascinating. And there's just great books out there on this topic that I highly recommend for anybody who feels like you have fear of death or having to deal with that a lot. It's just so inspiring.
I was deeply touched by Dr. Brian Weiss's book, Many Lives, Many Masters.
Yes, yes, that's a great one.
Yeah, it's and I'm not sure that it's the death part. I understand that where they're going and everything. I think it's the loss of their presence in my life,
Yes. Yeah, and so this is
that
something to
that
me.
touches,
Oh yeah,
that
and you
affects me.
just got to let yourself grieve. Don't feel bad about grieving. Let the tears flow. And I think I worked as a hospice nurse actually back in the day. And one of the things we tell people, it's normal to feel waves of grief for up to 2 years after a close one dies. And it can come in waves, like, after it's in the beginning, it's very intense, but then it can still hit in waves even a year and a half in. A wave might come over. We're just like, oh, I so miss them. I want them to be here, somebody who is really dear to me. So by allowing it to flow, and then generally it doesn't take longer than 2 years, but if you allow and even invite the process, welcome the tears, welcome the grief, then it actually becomes easier to flow through it.
Excellent. Now, here we are. This is Thanksgiving week.
Right.
And while the roots of this holiday
Right.
are what they are and everything, I find that it's a nice time for us to be focused on gratitude.
Yes.
And so, what little gems do you have for us for the Thanksgiving edition of the It's All Good show?
Well, gratitude is so important. I try to wake up every morning with gratitude and go to sleep at night with gratitude. And I think it's an amazing practice. Just wait when you wake up in the morning, what are you grateful for? It's like, oh, last night I had this connection with this person, or I read an amazing book. I had a great night's sleep, grateful for that. Oh my God, there's this fresh air that I get to breathe. The earth is being watered outside me with rain. There's lots of things you can be grateful for. And, my own belief is that whatever is going on internally is reflected externally, but there's a time lag. And so this is where practice is important. If you keep doing it, then
Right.
it actually starts manifesting out there. If you just do it once or twice, unless you're lucky, it's not going to show up right away. But if you start a gratitude practice, it can be so beautiful. And I do this regularly, like with my partners. You know, it's like let's really connect and share, particularly before when we're about to part and not going to see each other for a while, like deep gratitude, or when we get together. Such a beautiful, powerful piece.
Nice. I like
You know,
that.
on Thanksgiving dinner, we do this, and I love it's a practice. You know, go around the table and each share what are you grateful for now, and but let's do it all the time, not just at Thanksgiving.
Right. Exactly. Let's carry it throughout the year.
Hmm.
Now, how your best ways for people to connect with you and find you? I mean, obviously, peerservice.org that you started and has such great resources and everything, but you're not so involved in what if people want to connect with today's Fred Burks?
Sure. Piers has, I think, about 13 websites now, and on any of the websites, if you click Contact Us, I get a copy. Amber's the one who's answering them, but if you can even say, "This is for Fred," I get them also. So you can reach me there. Um, also, first off, I just want to say lesson 9 of the transformation course. If you don't have time to do all the lessons, whatever, lesson 9 is on near-death experiences, and it's so inspiring. So that's a great one, and some of the best near-death stories are there. Also, I have a website, www.talksex.us. So it's not a com, a .us. Talksex.us has great thoughts and suggestions on how to get comfortable with your sexuality and more conscious about it and embrace it more. I'm so fortunate to feel fully comfortable in my sexuality, and it makes a big difference. So that's another way you can explore some of my stuff. So yeah, feel free to contact me.
Excellent. Well, Fred, I want to thank you for taking the time to share on the It's All Good show. I'm really pleased to be back connected with you like this right now.
Yes.
And the interview that we did back in 2013, people can find by just typing in Dr. Dream and Fred Burks into Google, and it comes up. And yeah, thanks for everything that you've done and you continue to do. And I look forward to watching how it continues to unfold for you. And thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dream. I love what you're doing in the world. I love that you're traveling all around and spreading your light, and it's so beautiful. And thanks to everyone who's listening, just for being here. And let's inspire each other. You know, that's what we're doing here. And when we just choose to do this, life becomes a lot more enjoyable. Thank you so much, Dr. Dream.
Thank you. I just wanted to end this video, as it is the Thanksgiving edition, by thanking each and every one of you that have shown your support and love for all that we do under the umbrella of It's All Good, including the Tour of Love and this podcast. I have tremendous gratitude for each of you, and it means a lot that we're all here together getting to have this experience. So happy Thanksgiving. Make every day a day of gratitude and a day of love. And just know that we're here to love you. Hashtag here to love you. And if there's anything we can do to assist your journey, please reach out and let us know. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.